The Legacy by Virginia Woolf, Part 2. With that, she was gone. Her words and the look that went with them were unexpected. It was almost as if she believed or hoped that he would need her. A curious, perhaps a fantastic idea occurred to him as he returned to his chair. Could it be that during all those years when he had scarcely noticed her, she, as the novelists say, had entertained a passion for him? He caught his own reflection in the glass as he passed. He was over 50, but he could not help admitting that he was still, as the looking-glass showed him, a very distinguished-looking man. Poor Sissy Miller, he said, half laughing. How he could have liked to share that joke with his wife. He turned instinctively to her diary. Gilbert, he read, opening it at random, looked so wonderful. It was as if she had answered his question. Of course, she seemed to say, you were very attractive to women. Of course, Sissy Miller felt that too. He read on. How proud I am to be his wife. And he had always been very proud to be her husband. How often, when they dined out somewhere, he had looked at her across the table and said to himself, she's the loveliest woman here. He read on. That first year he had been standing for Parliament, they had toured his constituency. When Gilbert sat down, the applause was terrific. The whole audience rose and sang, for he's a jolly good fellow. I was quite overcome. He remembered that too. She had been sitting on the platform beside him. He could still see the glance she cast at him and how she had tears in her eyes. And then he returned to the pages. They had gone to Venice. He recalled that happy holiday after the election. We had ices at Florian's. He smiled. She was still such a child. She loved ices. Gilbert gave me a most interesting account of the history of Venice. He told me that the Doges, she had written it all out in her schoolgirl hand. One of the delights of traveling with Angela had been that she was so eager to learn. She was so terribly ignorant, she used to say, as if that were not one of her charms. And then he opened the next volume. They had come back to London. I was so anxious to make a good impression. I wore my wedding dress. He could see her sitting next to old Sir Edward and making a conquest of that old formidable man, his chief. He read on rapidly, feeling scene after scene from her scrappy fragments. Dined at the House of Commons, to an evening party at the Lovegroves. Did I realize my responsibility, Lady L asked me, as Gilbert's wife? Then, as the years passed, he took another volume from the writing table. He had become more and more absorbed in his work. And she, of course, was more often alone. It had been a great grief to her, apparently, that they had had no children. How I wish, one entry read, that Gilbert had a son. Oddly enough, he had never much regretted that himself. Life had been so full, so rich as it was. That year he had been given a minor post in government, a minor post only, but her comment was, I am quite certain now that he will be Prime Minister. Well, if things had gone differently, it might have been so. He paused there to speculate upon what might have been. Politics was a gamble, he reflected, but the game wasn't over yet, not at 50. He cast his eyes rapidly over more pages, full of the little trifles, the insignificant, happy, daily trifles that had made up her life. End of part 2.